Okay, thanks. Okay. Yeah, I think a lot of you might have heard of me, but might have not have a chance to watch my films. But let me share with you, being an independent filmmaker in Malaysia is very difficult. Okay, for instance, like even getting the films being made. Now, usually we have to pitch our story to studios, to the producers and investors, because these are the people who will decide if these films are going to be made, if this movie is going to make money. So I want to imagine now I'm giving a pitch to a board of panels of producers and investors. Okay, usually we'll start out with me presenting a story. So I would say like, well, this movie is about this man in his mid-40s. Okay, he lives in a small village. He's single. He doesn't have a girlfriend. And he works in a farm, and he lives alone because his parents passed away a long time ago. But it's okay, he's doing well. He doesn't socialize much, he doesn't like hip hop, but he's content. Now then one day, one morning, when he's working on his farm, he heard a baby cry. So he followed the sound of the baby crying, and he eventually come to find a baby girl that's being dumped in his farm compound. And so as he picked up the baby girl, the baby stopped crying. And then the baby looked at him and smiled. So the man on the spot knows that he's not going to report it to the police, and he's not going to send the kid to an orphanage. He wants to keep the kid, the baby, and raise her as his own daughter. Now usually by this time, one of the guys in the panel will jump in, and I'll be like, James, wait, I really like your story. I could see there's a lot of human emotion in it, but could you make it a little bit more interesting? Like, what if you change the baby into an alien baby? And you mean alien as in like migrants, illegal immigrants? No. An alien from outer space, from another planet, And you know what? It'd be much more cooler if the alien baby is blue color. Yeah, I think the audience will love it, man. Now you see, that's the problem. That's the type of films we have been getting these days in modern cinema. The story is really like far out, it's fantasy, it's big, I think it's okay, but there's too much. Now, I think the cinema these days, the film that we watch in cinemas, they're trying to push the limits of our imaginations by giving us the best popular graphics, the most powerful visual effects and realistic effects we have ever seen. But in this process, they forgot about characters and stories. Okay? And in this process, they are actually killing the imaginations of the audience. And at the same time, they accidentally took out the magic from the movie. Because whatever we watch today, we know is fake. We don't really care much. So why do we watch movies? Because we want good stories. That's actually what most human wants. When you have enough money, you have enough food, you have enough sex, you want good stories. But it's hard to find good stories these days, okay? Because good stories cannot be spoon-fed to you all by the filmmakers. It requires your participations. It requires you to be imaginative. I bet a lot of you might have watched very good movies before. I have. I still remember usually when I watch a very good movie, when the cinema lights turn on, I'll feel very satisfied. I'll get up from the seat really happy, like, wow, that's a really good movie. And as we walk out to the exit, we'll talk about the movie with a friend or a partner. Oh, that's good. And then when I get home, I can't wait to go to the office the next day to tell my friends and my colleagues, hey, you should watch this movie. It's really good. You'll like it. Because you see, we human beings, we love to share good stories. That's why we've been sharing all these inspiring videos on Facebook, all these touching videos. It's funny, you'll share it, and then your friend comment on it, they'll share it. Because we love to share good stories. Nobody loves to share bad stories. Have you ever heard of any of your friends or you yourself, like, wow, man, the film is really bad. It's very crappy, it's boring, the story is stupid, you should watch it. No, we don't do that, okay? And, okay, now let's look at horror films, okay? In horror films, there are a few rules that we always stick by in order to make the film much more effective. Now, first of all, if you're writing a horror film, make sure the protagonist is a female character, a woman. Okay? And you want it to be much more effective, throw in a children, a kid. So you've got a mother and daughter, or mother and a son. Now this idea is because in real life, we don't like to see a mother and a child being hurt or being harmed. But it's translated very well into the movie too. So in a way, this is a great setup in our mind. So the second thing is, in ghost movies, the best one, they don't really show you the ghost until the end. Yes, this is true. Try to analyze that the next time you see a great horror films. Because the thing in good horror films, they play on our fear of darkness and our fear of the unknown. The things that we can't see, that's the one that we fear most as human beings. So they play on that. So the problem with a movie, a bad horror film, they keep showing the ghost. Like here's wah, wah, wah. And by the time you recognize it, you can see it clearly, you can define the form, and then you realize, gosh, it's just an actor playing a ghost. There's no more fear in it. So that's why in filmmaking, there's a lot of time, not only in horror films, we think about the things that we don't want you to see. Because we want you to imagine it. Now, with these 2 points, it's still not enough. Because a horror films actually really work when you participate. And that's how. You see, a lot of time when people buy tickets for horror films, they know they are watching a horror films, they want to be terrified. They'll say, this better be good, man. I want to be scared tonight. Right? So in a way, you prime yourself, you kind of like set up this mindset, you know, with the idea that you want to be scared. So that's why it's easier for a filmmaker to kind of like scare you during a film if it's done well. That's why they don't have to show you a lot. They just show you a story, so you can relate to it, and then they build the suspense. Because a lot of time, the suspense, the tension, and the fear is created by yourself when you're watching the movie. You know, some people cover their eyes, but we know it's fake. It's a film. It's not real. And one more thing, the ghost is not going to come up to grab you, but we react, we laugh, we are terrified, because it's all created by ourselves. And this is why horror movies is a good example how when you participate in it, it works very well. Okay. Now let's look at another type of film that could kind of like influence or engage audience. Okay. Now I've met this friend of mine in early 2000, and he's not a filmmaker, and we're hanging out. So as usual, we're talking about films because I'm a filmmaker and we talk about films. So he told us about how he had just watched this film like a few years ago, and it kind of changed his life a bit. We were quite surprised to hear this from him. So he said there's one night when he got back from work, you know, very late at night, and he's very exhausted. And like usually what he do is like just sit in front of the TV, switch on the TV, and flip channels, trying to find something to watch, to relieve stress, to relax, and usually those action movies and gangster movies. That's what he watched. But that particular night, he didn't really care what is playing on the TV. So he just stopped on one channel, and he watched this film. He doesn't know what is this movie about, because it started a while ago, but he just watched, and he watched. And he told us when the film ended and the credits started rolling, he cried. And he cried and cried and cried. And he felt there's a lot of these emotions coming out from him, all alone in the living room, in the middle of the night. And this is the movie he watched. It's by the late Taiwanese director, Edward Yang. It's also called The One and the Two. Now, it's basically a family drama set in modern-day Taipei. Now, in the movie, one of the characters, the father of the family, actually has problems with his marriage. And he feels disconnected with his kids. At the same time, his business is falling apart. And on top of that, his mother is sick and is about to die. Now, this friend of mine actually was touched because he couldn't believe there's actually a movie that's made about people like him. Because at that point of time, he was just separated with his wife. His business was not doing very well. He doesn't have kids. And his father was constantly sick, and he had to take care of him alone, like fetching him to the doctor and even managing in the house. So he couldn't understand why he's so stressful. He couldn't understand why the world is so unfair and all these things happen to him at the same time. But you see, what I felt, right, when he cried and understand all this stuff, because I think the film, the movie, did not help him solve the problem. Movie doesn't do that. But what I think the movie managed to do is to make him understand and realize that life is like that. You know, this is what life is about. And these type of problems happen to anyone, anywhere, anytime, all over the world. And he was very relieved to finally see that, because sometimes you need to step out of that environment to observe, then you can understand better. And this is the type of film that I think rarely people watch. And they're very powerful, but provided you watch it with the right mindset. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show two videos. Okay, very quickly. Here's the first video. Now we're going to watch the second video. Next, please. I think it's quite clear what the video is about, but it does convey two different sets of ideas. So now I want you to ask yourself, what were you thinking when you're watching the two videos? And how do you feel? Okay. And then ask yourself, why do you feel like that? Now the point of this video is to demonstrate the fact that it depends on your knowledge of the subject matter. Okay. It's a very personal experience. Okay. On your understanding of the concept of police and law, okay, on your understanding of some stories that you have heard from your friends or news that you've read, and all this is what you use when you're watching those videos, and they will guide you to what you think and you feel. Because maybe some of you will feel a little bit of anger, and some of you may feel nothing at all. But let's imagine the people who watch it, who have friends or family members, or they themselves serve in the police force. What do they feel and think when they watch these two videos? Right? So that's why it's so important that when you consume media these days, not only movies, viral videos, news footage, and CCTV videos online, we should bring in our own knowledge and experience and actively engage in it with a mindset on, not shut down. Hope that they'll give you entertainment, especially these days. Because sometimes you need this to fill in the blank space that we purposely leave it out for certain reasons. Because filmmaking can be a very, very manipulative art form. It can guide you, it can entertain you. So that's why I hope you all will start watching movies much more actively in terms of like, have a mindset. Don't shut down and say, it's too hard to think, I just want to enjoy myself. Because there's a certain way of enjoying movies. Because if you watch movies like this long enough, you'll learn to appreciate and enjoy movie and cinema in a different level. At the same time, maybe you'll learn more about filmmaking. It'll be fun. Okay? And then maybe one day you want to tell your own stories. And then you want to try filmmaking. It's not hard these days, you know, because of the equipments that we get. Then you want to do your own YouTube video, your documentary, or your short film. But please remember one thing. If that day comes that you want to make a movie for yourself, please remember, don't ever make a movie about a blue-colored baby alien. That'll be the damn awful film. Okay, thank you.